everybody, thank you for joining me today. So this is going to be our first Sunday technique retake, and the idea is that we're going to take something from the Technique Tuesday videos and use it in our Sunday video. So I decided to do a layout, and on this one here I got the chipboard, and I'm just going to put some score tape around the outside edge and down in the middle, and I like to go across diagonally, going both directions and just splitting in the middle on the last one. And then I take off after I burnish it in, so that way it lifts up really easy. I also use this pick tool to kind of get the tape going. It helps, trust me. So if you have like anything like a piercing tool, it with that sharp end, it'll help pick up the backing of the score tape. And then I take some art glitter glue and I put it in all the areas in between where there wasn't any of the score tape. And then after I lay it down on the chipboard, I like to take my bone folder and just rub it all along, so that way all those places where the glue was, everything spreads out, and kind of, in my mind, I'm spreading the glue underneath the paper, you know what I mean? But I wanted to make sure that it all lays nicely. Okay. So in looking at the sketch that we first started with, I was going to use this vellum piece of paper, because that's what we worked on last Tuesday, was using vellum, using the embossing folders. That was one of the techniques. So I'm using that for this layout. There were two other, I want to say, pieces of paper. I cut them at 5x7. And I think this orange one I cut a little bit bigger. I made it 5 1/4 by 7. And then you'll see when I go to cut the other two pattern papers, those I do cut to 5x7. And I was just trimming up that vellum, the edges that didn't get obviously embossed. And then I'm gonna grab here. I was trying to figure out which sheet I wanted to use. I like the back, this pattern here that's facing us. And it's just important to make sure when you have a pattern like that, that you figure out exactly how you want it to go on the page, vertical, horizontal, so that way you know how to cut it in the cutter. So initially here you'll see me, I'm trying to figure out how I want this all to lay out, you know, how I'm going to use the embossing embossed vellum I should say. And in laying it all out, I realized this one piece on the side, I really needed to make it bigger. So I grabbed the T-square and I'm just looking to figure out, okay, so exactly how much more would I need in order to have enough at the top and the bottom for my little cluster of papers to make sense and look how I want it to compare to what the actual sketch was. So in doing that, I realized I didn't want it to use that particular vellum piece that I did before the video started. So I realized that I was going to change that, and all I'm doing is literally laying on the embossing folder just to kind of have an idea. Now, even though this one was a big embossing folder, it wasn't big enough for what I wanted and where I wanted to put our vellum. So in the middle of doing all this, I realized if I cut them in half, I could have as much as I want sticking from the top and the bottom, and it would give me that piece that you see in the sketch, and it will allow me to showcase as much of the vellum as I could. I almost forgot to put the little tab on there. Once I got the tab on and put a little glue on it, I'm just going to lay that all back down. And we're going to continue putting everything together. And at first I wasn't going to put tape around the whole thing, and then I just decided you know what, I think I can keep it from sticking all over itself and on the paper where I didn't want it to. So I just moved it around and got it set up, and then I realized I'm going to go ahead and put the vellum on one side and then put more glue tape down or ATG tape down, line it up, and put the other piece on the other side. So it looks like it's one long piece underneath our collage here. And then once I got the angle right for the other page, we're going to glue everything up again. And I did put a little bit of glue underneath the one side of the vellum, but with everything that we were putting up there and with the piece down at the bottom, you don't even see it. So I'm just laying out exactly which pieces I want to do. And for the banner piece, I just took one of the extra pieces, the strip that I had left, cut a little banner at the end, and we got our little flag. And then I cut off a little bit of gold thread, and I realized, perfect. So now we're going to get into some what we call wet embossing. That's when you use the Versamark ink and your embossing powder. And all I'm doing is pressing it straight into the ink, putting the piece in the coffee filter, and then tapping off the extra gold embossing powder. And then we're going to do the same thing to the word wonderful. I'm just pressing it in, and I double check it, make sure it looks like it got, you know, good coverage, because you want to make sure that you don't have any empty spots. And then once it looked like everything was covered good, I just funnel that back into the bottle. And then I always make sure I close it up because I don't want to knock it over. I already am down to like the little bits of that embossing powder. And then we're just going to heat it up real quick. I'm trying not to have so much heat pressed or point it right at my mat, because if you put too much heat, it will wind up warping it. So I'm trying to be mindful of that, because before I didn't care, I just heat it up. But now it's starting to warp some, and I don't want to make it do it anymore. Alright, so now our pieces are heat embossed, and I'm just laying everything back out again. And now we're going to go ahead and attach. I'm attaching the flag piece, and then I'm kind of going to get the thread together. It's going to be hard to see only because that gold thread is so thin, but I'm trying to make sure that the ends are together and kind of in the middle. So once I put my glue down, I want to make sure that I'm hitting those pieces specifically. And then that little bit that sticks out, I'm just going to cut with my scissors and then move those off of the front, the little tails, and then we're going to glue down our title, which is the word wonderful. And then while I was sitting here, I realized there was one edge that was looking a little disheveled. So I just decided to go ahead and take the Prima distress tool that I have and go around all four sides. And then once I do that, I'm going to hit all four sides with some of the tea dye distress ink. Yeah, tea dye. Just so that it's not stark white, you know, just to give it a little bit of color and it stays in the browns. And this actually is gonna I'm gonna post it for the weekend challenge in Scrapbooking with Me Boutique in the members room, because the challenge was orange, brown, and gold. So it was a color challenge this weekend. So I had real fun using this. You can see in the close-up pictures here that we have just that little bit of vellum peeking out, but you can use vellum in so many different ways. Like if you wanted to do a flower and you wanted to keep it light and delicate, you know, punch it out with your dies even. That'll be whole nother project probably, when we go into like using dies and cutouts and stuff for your layouts and scrapbooks. So I hope as this series continues that you guys find it helpful for using on scrapbook pages. And if you have any comments or any ideas, you can leave them down in the comments below. And please hit the like, subscribe, and share button. at the end here, I'm going to just have links to previous Sunday color videos that we used to do. I will still have coloring videos here and there, only because I do find it so relaxing. Thanks, you guys, and have a great day.